So complement is one small thing that we are going to talk about today, and distributions are another. And so by definition, the probability distribution is a representation of outcomes, and it's usually in the form of a table. So we're going to be using tables. And this table is called a frequency table. So how frequent does something happen? And it displays all the outcomes. And if I am asking for the relative frequency, I am asking for the percentage. Write yourself a note here that our answers will be in the form of percentages only when we're working with tables. Okay, so we want percentages. And so with that being said, let's jump right to it. And so a student records the favorite seasons for 50 students. 50 students. The results are shown in the table. And then the question is saying, what is the relative frequency of spring? So this is asking for the probability that I get spring, that a student prefers spring. So we want a probability. And we want, remember, in a percentage. We want the probability in a percentage. So we still know how to do this. We want our want over our total. Okay. And I want my want over my total. I want to pick a student that prefers spring. I want to prefer a student who picks spring out of my total number of students. Well, I know my total number of students. My total number of students is 50. Even if I wasn't told here that it was 50, I also could have counted up all the number of responses and figured out it was 50. So my total is 50. And out of those 50 students, how many of them wanted spring? Well, I can just look right at the chart and I know that 13 out of 50 of them prefer spring. 13 out of 50 is not my answer though. Remember, we want our answer in a percentage. I'm going to show you how to get a percentage. 13 over 50 as a percent, your calculator will help you with. Let me clear all that. 13 out of 50. In order to find a percentage, I need to go to my calculator and figure out the decimal. 13 out of 50 is 0.26. Remember, I don't ever want your answer in the form of a decimal. 13 out of 50 is 0.26. In order to get the percentage, I'm going to take that decimal though and multiply it by 100. That will move my decimal place over 2 spaces and it'll give me my percent. So 13 out of 50 is equal to 26%. So 13 out of 50, I'll show some of my work. That was equal to 0.26. But in order to get a percentage, I had to multiply that by 100. And I would have gotten 26%. Don't forget your percent sign. It is wrong without the percent because that's your units. Okay. Now, what is the relative frequency that I pick winter? And so remember, relative frequency is just asking for the probability, but we're using a table instead. And I want all the students who pick winter. Well, I know that there's 7 students that prefer winter out of my 50. And then if you do that and get a percentage, you should get 14%. I'm not going to show you how I did that because I want you to try it. So you can pause the video and make sure that you got 14% as well. Okay. If you didn't though, of course, please ask me. All right, now let's talk about this table a little bit. All of these tables should add up to the number of students I have. So remember, if all of these should add up to 50 because I had a total of 50, and all their percentages should equal 100%. So thinking about this last question, if the table included the number of responses for only 3 of the seasons, could you determine the relative frequency for the remaining season? So what that is saying is if I never told you how many students preferred winter, could you still figure out how many students preferred winter? And the answer is yes. As long as I know that my total is 50, I could easily figure out how many students preferred winter by adding up the number of students who preferred spring and summer and fall and subtracting that by 50. Then I should know that I have 7 left over. Then I can find the relative frequency, which is my probability, by doing 7 out of 50. Okay, or you could have found all the percentages and tried to find the missing percent. You could have done the percent of spring, the percent of summer, and the percent of fall and subtracted that by 100%. Everything needs to be 100% complete. Please watch one more video.